Chief Meteorologist Rebecca Kopelman here, and going to break down the risk for severe weather. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll try and answer them as we walk through the possibility here of severe weather in eastern Iowa. And there's the potential for significant strong storms and rather intense storms, unfortunately, but there's also the possibility that just not much happens, or the coverage is limited, or there's a more isolated activity. But the concern is that there's ingredients in place for some rather dangerous storms that could develop later today. And that is why the Storm Prediction Center is maintaining this 3 and 4 out of 5 for the severe risk, and you have this orange and red zone. That red area has shrunk because of some of these uncertainties, but there's still a rather large area that runs through portions of northeastern Iowa and for areas north of Highway 20 in particular, where we could be running into some of these problems. So I'm going to kind of break down everything, and if you still have some questions, I'll happily answer them. But the kind of basic is that we're going to have a volatile atmosphere, and this is going to be all these ingredients in place that could create some dangerous conditions for thunderstorms. But there are two things that are kind of holding things back. One is a cap in place, and a cap is when we have warm air up above, and that suppresses thunderstorm activity because all of their air wants to rise and form these clouds and form these large storms, but it wants to go up into cooler air. So when it runs into that layer of warm air, it suppresses the activity, so it prevents it from happening. That cap can be broken, and this is something that happens a lot in the spring and summertime. And it can happen in a number of ways. Sometimes the temperatures get warm enough it can bust through and allow for those thunderstorms to bubble up. Or if we get some sort of front to come through, that can be the trigger for these storms. But there's not enough of either of those things to kind of get that going, get those storms going, at least the way it seems right now. So there is a lack of a trigger to really get thunderstorms, not enough lift to force that air to rise and to force thunderstorms to develop. And that's why there's uncertainty in how much coverage we could see of these storms, and why there's some question marks on how exactly the day evolves. And one of the other things right now is the fact that there's a whole lot of cloud cover, and that could really limit the storm potential and the instability later today. Right now, there's a warm front that's lifting north across the state. There was one warning actually with a storm in Bremer County. It's been let go. It's kind of seems like a little pulsy storm where there could be some hail briefly in it, but it's moving through Owine and toward Fayette right now, 9:23 on this Monday morning. And so we already had one severe thunderstorm warning. And this is also leading to some cloud cover further down to the south. We have these clouds in overhead. And there's also then this little wave that's off to the west here that could be coming in and leading to some additional thunderstorm activity. So if we continue to see some of this rain, that could really limit the potential for some additional storms to form later today as well. So this kind of capping and a stable environment remaining in place could really limit that severe potential later today. All in all, that wouldn't be a bad thing at all, because the ingredients that are out there, unfortunately, could lead to some pretty dangerous conditions, and we'd rather not deal with that and have lack of thunderstorms and those strong storms. But temperatures are going to be rising here. We're sitting right now around 60 degrees, maybe a little bit limited depending on how long some of this cloud cover sticks around, but the south wind should really start to kick in a bit more and help drive temperatures up, and we'll be warming up. We'll have moisture getting pulled in. You'll start to feel that warmth and that mugginess. Temperatures are going to rise into the 70s to maybe near 80 degrees, and that's going to just lead to this instability, the energy in the atmosphere for showers and storms to develop and strengthen if they're able to form. So this 3 and 4 out of 5 continues to be maintained. The Storm Prediction Center did pull it down just a smidgen toward Waterloo and Fort Dodge. There's kind of a little bit of a southwestern edge to that moderate risk once again, but the 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 5 rather still being maintained across the rest of eastern Iowa. And I don't know that we're going to see that much in terms of coverage to the south of Highway 20 because of the lack of energy with the system, and the low pressure system, the center of this system, is displaced so far to the north, which is a little unusual for this time of year, but that's where the real, at least, trigger and energy and lift will be to allow for these showers and storms to develop. So that's why northern Iowa has a bit of a higher chance, just closer to that low pressure system, for storms to get going. But tornadoes would be the primary threat, and large hail would be another threat. And the concern is not only for tornadoes, but for some long track and strong tornadoes. And then not just hail, but we're talking large hail that could be the golf ball to baseballs in size. And so that's why there's so much concern, and it's because of the ingredients that are out there. And we'll get to predictor in a second. I wanted to actually go through this here about the ingredients that are in place, because we have high wind shear, a lot of strong winds in the atmosphere. In fact, this morning I was even watching the clouds, and you can still kind of see it out there that the clouds are booking it, and there's a lot of strong winds throughout the atmosphere. And then we have a lot of this spin going on, which can lead to that large hail development and that tornadic development. Then there's high instability, there's high moisture. The question comes in about this lift and the actual energy to pick up these just all of these is air, and get the air to rise and get these storms to form. And the actual trigger to lead to thunderstorm development is missing. That's a factor that's missing. And it's just like if you bake a cake and you don't have flour, you're not baking a cake today. And so same situation with the storms, but because everything's on the high end, there's all these other factors leading to this concern. So I'm going to walk through Predictor, which is our in-house model, and it's not really doing well with initializing and showing what's actually happening currently. So it's hard to completely trust it, but what it does show is some of that activity off to the west and some of those showers kind of coming in, and a few of them passing through around 2 o'clock, but nothing really strengthening. And it's likely due to that capping, limiting those storms from being able to strengthen and develop. And then we're not seeing much until after 8 o'clock with the actual cold front, which would be able to break through that cap and develop these thunderstorms. But then they may be in a weakening state, and passing through, there could be maybe an isolated storm or two that's strong, but then that's kind of it. I'm going to then walk through another model. This is the high resolution rapid refresh. It's also not initializing well. It's not showing the thunderstorm activity in Northeast Iowa right now. So that leaves me some pause, because there's concern about if it's catching on to the trends currently, but it is showing that kind of that same deal of some of these showers and storms coming out from the west afternoon, and it's showing a bit more development, but it's still not showing a whole lot of strengthening. Kind of shows some scattered showers and storms breaking out, and then shows a few stronger storms that could be supercells, and those stronger storms that could be tornado producers, large hail producers, off to the west of I-35 after 4 or 5 o'clock, and some of those maybe doing a glancing blow past northeastern Iowa, and then that cold front coming through, and kind of still a broken line of showers and storms coming in later today. So still some, again, mixed messages in terms of the data and in terms of that coverage. And I think those two factors of the capping and that lack of lift and a trigger is going to limit our severe coverage today in terms of the storms, and limit the coverage of the thunderstorm activity. So the bottom line here is that the potential is there, and the potential exists that there could be some powerful storms and some intense storms. They'd be fast movers, and they could also be rather dangerous. But the potential also exists that there could be little to nothing that happens in parts of the area or all of the area. So the bottom line is to stay informed and to stay prepared, because this potential is certainly going to remain and exist. But then to just make sure that you're ready to get watches and warnings. Once a watch is issued, we kind of get onto that time frame where we're saying, okay, now it's seeming like more of a possibility. Just review the plan with your family. If your kids are going to be home after school during this time when storms could happen after 2, 3 o'clock, then make sure they know the plan. Make sure you have all those ways to get warnings, and make sure that once a warning is issued, you're able to act fast. And I think that really north of Highway 20, you got to be prepared to change plans this evening. If you had plans to be out and about, to just be prepared if we start to see this likelihood happen of these storms, that we do get a watch issued, that you're ready to change those plans and stay home and have a plan to shelter. Keep your phone charged. Just keep checking in with the forecast, and we'll make sure that we're updating you as we get a better picture on things. But I do think that uncertainty really still exists. There's also still, unfortunately, a lot of concern because of these ingredients in the atmosphere. But I do want you to know of all the possibilities and the fact that if storms do happen, they could get rather intense rather quickly. So that's something we'll just continue to watch through the day today. Doesn't look like there's any questions. I can always come back and answer them. You can check back in with us at iowasnewsnow.com. You can check in on our website and get the latest updates there. And we'll be back with some more updates and, of course, live coverage you can find here on YouTube as well as online all the time at iowasnewsnow.com. Stay safe, stay weather aware, stay informed through the day today.